we'd like to introduce our occupational therapy students and Professor Ashley Hall. If you'd wave to everyone, that'd be wonderful. Rachel, go ahead and take it away since you're the host today.
Okay, well, Alyssa's gonna share her screen. Are you able to do that, Alyssa? Or okay, perfect.
Alrighty, hi everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining us on a Friday afternoon. Today we wanted to take about an hour and kind of talk about sleep. So Dr. Cox has, from the occupational therapy faculty practice, came and spoke in December about sleep and kind of talked about sleep cycles and a general overview of everything about sleep. And today we really wanted to kind of build off of that presentation with an emphasis on discussing sleep hygiene strategies and ways that we can implement these strategies into our routines so that we have better sleep. So like all of our other presentations, this is really meant to be a safe space for everyone and really an open dialogue. So if you would like to share or if you have any questions, go ahead and you can use the chat function, or you can raise your hand or just unmute yourself. So today we wanted to start with an agenda. We will do a little bit of a review of the sleep cycles, and then we will go into what sleep health is and OT's role in promoting sleep health. We wanted to touch on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on sleep health as well, and then really dive into tips on how to improve our sleep hygiene. We'll have time for breakout rooms for discussion, and then close with some reminders and time for question and answers. So to start us off, we do have a poll, and we have 2 questions on our poll. The first question is, on average, how many hours of sleep are you getting per night? And the second question is, on a scale of 1 to 5, how satisfied are you with the sleep that you are getting? Right, and we'll give 1 or 2 minutes to answer these questions. All right, we have 86% voted, so I'll give it a couple more minutes and then I'll share my screen.
Did you only do the vote for the first question so far?
There should be both of them, but if not, we can do one at a time and then discuss both of them.
They are separate, Alyssa. I set them up separately, so I only saw, according to Victoria, we only saw 1 poll.
Okay. Perfect. We can go with what we have right here. So I'm going to end the poll. And I'm going to share the results. Okay. So it looks like most people are getting about 5 to 7 hours of sleep per night, and some a little bit less, some a little bit more. On average, it's recommended to get about 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and getting either too much or too little sleep can be problematic both ways. So I'm going to stop sharing really quick. Okay. And Oh, here's the second poll. Okay. We can go ahead and take a few moments. Is everyone able to see the second poll? No.
No. Oh,
There
yeah.
we go.
There it
There
is.
we go. I'll give it maybe 10 more seconds for anybody else that would like to vote. Alrighty, I'm going to end the poll now, and I'm going to share the results. All right, so it looks like a lot of people, unfortunately, are not very satisfied with their the sleep that they are getting. And, you know, sleep is something that can be very tricky to manage. So hopefully today we can provide you guys some strategies, and you guys can kind of start to implement them and hopefully see some improvements in your sleep. Alrighty. Okay, next I'm going to pass it on actually to Catherine, and she's going to do a review of the previous presentation with Dr. Cox on some of the sleep cycles.
Alyssa. So we probably all heard a little bit about sleep cycles in the past, but today, like Alyssa had mentioned, we're still going to give a little recap to build the foundation for our presentation. So in this picture right here, when we think about the sleep, it's categorized into two different categories. So the first one is called non-rapid eye movement, also known as NREM. And in this category, there are three different stages. So stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. The second category, the last circle, is called rapid eye movement, REM sleep. And these are determined based on our brain activity. So progressing smoothly multiple times through the sleep cycle is an important part of getting high quality rest. So right now, let's go more in depth into these stages. In stage 1, this is essentially the dozing off stage, and this normally lasts between 1 to 5 minutes. People cycle between waking and falling asleep during this time. And also, sometimes when we sleep, we get the feeling that we are dreaming about falling, and suddenly we have a sudden movement that causes us to be awake. So that happens during the stage 1 of sleep as well. During the next stage, stage 2, the body enters into a deeper sleep, and it becomes disengaged from their surroundings. So our breathing and heart rate become more regular, which means there is a consistent rhythm, and our body temperature drops. We also spend around half of our sleeping time in stage 2 over here. On the next slide, there's stage 3 and 4, and these are the deepest and most restorative stages of sleep. So during this time, blood pressure drops, breathing slows, muscles relax, and this is an important stage of sleep because this is where tissue growth and repair happens. So now we'll transition into the other component of sleep, which is REM sleep. So most often our dreams occur in this stage because our brain activities start picking up. So REM sleep is also known as rapid eye movement because although our eyes are closed, they can still be seen moving quickly. And this stage is very important because this is essentially the stage that helps our cognitive function, such as memory learning and creativity. So sleep stages are important because they allow the brain and body to recuperate and develop. So during this time, our sleep helps our thinking, emotions, and physical health. And sleepers who frequently awake during earlier stages can struggle to properly cycle through the different stages of sleep, which impacts their quality. So in this picture right here, the graph shows how we cycle through the different stages of sleep. So each U shape that you see counts as one cycle. So as you can see here in the beginning, we first start at stage 1, then we progress into stage 2, 3, and 4. And then we go back into previous stages. So stage 3, stage 2, and then we hit REM sleep over here. Then the cycle starts all over again. And that's why our sleep is categorized into cycles. There's kind of like a rhythm to the levels of brain activity we have as we are sleeping. So adults generally go through 4 to 6 different sleep cycles during the night, but when someone wakes up in the middle of a cycle, they aren't able to receive deeper sleep because the cycle has to start all over again. And that's why today we want to talk about some strategies that would really help in getting that quality sleep. Now I'm going to pass it on to Alyssa, who will be talking about sleep health.
Thank you, Catherine. All right, so while it's really important to get an adequate amount of sleep, it's also really important to make sure you're getting good quality sleep. And someone can kind of determine the quality of sleep that they're getting through a perceived sleep health. Sleep health is a multidimensional pattern of sleep wakefulness, and it's adapted to the individual, social, and environmental demands. And it promotes physical and mental well-being. And good sleep health is characterized by subjective satisfaction, appropriate timing, adequate duration, high efficiency, and sustained alertness during, our waking hours. I am next going to pass it on to Rachel, who's going to be discussing the OT's role in sleep and sleep health.
So we occupational therapists consider sleep as restorative activity that are essential for optimal performance, participation, and engagement in everyday life. And we provide insights into how illness, environment, habits, routines, and psychosocial factors influence sleep in order to help individuals who experience sleep problems. Sleep deprivation is a public health issue having significant biological, physiological, and psychological implication for older adults' health and quality of life. Older adults who do not sleep well are more likely to have depression, difficulties maintaining attention, memory problems, excessive daytime sleepiness, and experience more nighttime falls. And while there are many ways that occupational therapists can help, today we're going to mainly focus on sleep hygiene, which means establishing good sleep habits and creating a sleep promoting environment. And so we're going to talk about various sleep hygiene tips to help you sleep better. But before getting into all of that, I'm going to pass it on to Elizabeth to talk briefly about sleep problems during COVID times.
So we thought this study was really interesting and we wanted to share it with you to put sleep issues in the context of our current climate. The data from this research was published just last month, and it examines the impact of the pandemic on the prevalence of sleep problems among patients with COVID-19, healthcare workers, and the general population in 13 different countries. And to do so, they used various sleep assessments. So as you can see from the percentages here, patients with active COVID-19 had a really high prevalence of sleep problems, which is to be expected, but also around 1/3 of healthcare workers in the general population have also been experiencing sleep problems. And now you may be wondering how these numbers now amongst the general population compares to pre-pandemic times. Unfortunately, the research did not have previous data from the 13 countries they surveyed for this study, but they did have data from just one country, which was China. And pre-pandemic, sleep problems affected 15% of the general adult population in China. And as we can see here, now it appears to be affecting about 32% of the general population. So, we can't look too far into this since the pre-pandemic data surveyed far less people, but this does definitely give us some indication that there is a higher prevalence of sleep problems amongst the general population during the COVID-19 pandemic. And sleep is always important, but especially now during the pandemic, sleep is so essential for all of the mental and physical health benefits we've spoken about. So for the rest of the presentation, we hope to provide you with some helpful tips on getting better sleep for better health. All right, so before you consider making changes and implementing these tips, you need to understand your current sleep better. And one way to do that is by using a tool called a sleep diary. You may think that you're getting quality sleep, but the sleep diary can help to analyze and pinpoint trends that may indicate otherwise. So we wanted to open it up to the group and ask if anyone has used a sleep diary before. So feel free to use the chat or speak up. All right, hearing from a lot of people, no. Some people saying yes.
I have to use my Fitbit to track
Fitbit,
this.
okay. Very nice. What does that measure for you?
It measures the time I was asleep, when I was in light sleep or deep sleep, and how many times it shows that I woke up, even though I didn't necessarily come to and consciously know that I was awake. It shows times when it thought I was awake.
Got it. Okay. So that's really awesome and really high tech. So yeah, there's a lot of different variations of sleep diaries like that one. There's also journals that you can write in. So we provided for you today, we emailed it prior, and I'll drop it in the chat as soon as I'm done speaking, a sleep diary that you can fill out on your own. So like I was saying, there's many different variations. Generally, they'll have you record your sleep and daily habits in efforts to identify the factors that influence your quality of sleep. So for example, you may be prompted to record how much caffeine you drank, how much exercise you got, or if you took a nap, to see how that impacts your duration and quality of sleep. And it's typically filled out in the morning with questions about your sleep, and then in the evening with questions about your day. And then when you've filled it out for a few days, it should be reviewed with a healthcare provider. And once again, once I'm done speaking, I will drop the resource of a sleep diary from the Sleep Foundation in the chat. All right, moving on, we want to talk about some environmental factors that impact our sleep hygiene, which again is essentially healthy sleep habits. So the ones we'll be speaking about today are temperature, light, and sound. And then we'll also give you some additional tips related to sleep hygiene. So first, temperature. It was actually found in a 2012 study that the temperature of the room you're in is one of the most important aspects of sleep quality. According to Dr. Kazarian, a sleep doctor at USC Keck, our internal core temperature coming down at night is necessary for both falling and staying asleep. And this drop in our core body temperature at night has been found to be around 2 degrees Fahrenheit, and it begins a bit before bedtime, which coincides with the release of our sleep hormone melatonin. So thus, turning the thermostat down at night can help signal to your body that it's time for bed. And doctors say the optimal room temperature for sleeping is around 65 degrees. So tips for keeping your room cool include turning down the thermostat, using a fan, controlling bedroom humidity by using a humidifier, which we have pictured to the right, keeping your blinds closed during the day to reduce heat buildup, and using and experimenting with lighter sheets, covers, and pajamas to reduce sweating. I also see that the sleep diary has been added to the chat, so that is great. Thank you so much. And now Catherine will tell us about light.
So light is one of the most important external factors that affect sleep. And this is because our body has an internal clock called the circadian rhythm, which signals when we should be alert and when it's time to rest. And it does so by responding to changes in light in our environment. So essentially, when light enters our eye, it is sensed by a special group of cells, which carries the information to our brain. And then the brain sends signals throughout our entire body to control organs and other systems in accordance with the time of day. So in our environment, the world is set up to have these patterns of sunlight and darkness, which helps our sleeping cycle. But now, because we have electricity all the time, it can actually hinder transitions between sleep cycles and reduce the quality of sleep. So for example, too much light can cause you to wake up more consistently during the night. And so learning the links between light and sleep allow you to tailor your bedroom environment so that you can get more consistent high quality sleep. So in this slide here, the most important thing to consider and to remember is that darkness is good for your sleep. Some people like to use blackout curtains to block out street lights during the night or other sources of light. And other people, for people who want a night light, they have ones with preset timers so that it can turn off on its own and that it won't be on throughout the entire night. The National Sleep Foundation also recommends that people engage in a wind down routine, which is basically a set apart time for around 30 minutes to an hour to slow down and transition into sleep. Some people choose to use that time to journal about the day, put calming music, make the room darker so that their bodies will start preparing for sleep. And usually the Sleep Foundation recommends that we stop the usage of electronics before bed because these devices can emit something called blue light, which is found to be especially powerful in suppressing melatonin, which is basically a hormone that helps our rhythms. In the wind down routine, a small lamp can also be a good way to help transition into sleep. So you can turn off other lights in the room and leave a small lamp with warm light. So when we're talking about warm light, it's not the temperature of the light, but more so the type of color it emits. So in this graph right here, you can see that the color of light can range from blue light to a bright white light, and then warm light. So warm light is found to promote relaxation in the evening, whereas a cool white color makes you more alert. So this is maybe something you can think about when you're choosing light bulbs for the home, because you can buy light bulbs with warmer light tones or cooler white tones. And lastly, although technology is not recommended right before you sleep, if you need to use it, you can turn the brightness on your phone to the lowest setting. You can also use different tools to block the blue light that we were talking about. So in this next slide, we will have a few resources that would be helpful for that. So on the top left-hand picture, this is an image of blue light glasses. And these are pretty popular during COVID times since people are using their screens more. These glasses block a lot of the blue light on your screen from reaching your eyes, and you can usually buy these online. If you already wear glasses, you can also ask your optometrist if you can add the blue light blocking on your glasses that you're currently using. On the bottom left-hand picture, this is an app that you can install on your computer or phone. This is something that the OT students from the past have recommended in their presentations. And it's very helpful because the app helps the color of your screen change and adapt to the time of the day. So as the day becomes later, the light becomes less blue and it makes your computer screen more warm colored. On the picture in the right side, this is an image of blackout curtains, like we mentioned before. So you can see that on the side of the curtain facing the window, it's black so that it's harder for light to come through into the room. So now I'm going to pass it on to Rachel to talk a little bit about sound.
So exposure to too much noise during sleep also has a major impact on your sleep quality. Loud noises from your surrounding can make falling asleep difficult or wake you up in the middle of the night. Even noises that don't wake you up have subconscious effects on sleep by changing the time we spend in certain sleep stages or by changing the hormone production. So it can increase the level of adrenaline and cortisol, which can elevate your heart rate and blood pressure. So you can feel a lot sleepier and more tired the following day. So it is important to create a quiet sleep environment to improve the quality of your sleep. And so you can do this by adding soft surfaces, so adding rugs, cushioned furniture, or thick curtains to your bedroom can help block or lessen noise both coming in from outside and from within your house. Also, you can try to reduce appliance noise. Sometimes refrigerators or air conditioners can be quite loud. So when you have to replace these, you can try to shop for one that is quiet. And also turn off alerts on your phone or other electronic devices. Most devices have the do not disturb or the bedtime mode. And this is different from the silent mode because with the do not disturb or the bedtime mode, as you can see in the right photo in the slide, you can change the settings so that you still hear your alarms in the morning and other important emergency calls that you can't miss. You can also schedule to turn on do not disturb for the time period you select. So from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, it will automatically go into this mode without you having to turn it on and off every single time. And the photos that I have on this slide is from my iPhone. But it's also similar in Android. So if you have an Android phone, you will go to bedtime on your clock app or in the digital well-being settings, and you will be able to do all of these on there as well. So this is a really useful tool that you can use to keep your phone quiet and also dark as you sleep. Another strategy is to use earplugs to completely block out external noises or a headphone to listen to calming sounds instead, like classical music and nature sounds to help you sleep. But regular earplugs or headphones can be uncomfortable and sometimes even unsafe to wear for the whole night. So if you prefer to listen to something as you sleep, you can use a sleep headphone shown in the picture on the bottom right. It wraps around your head and your ears like a headband, so it's a lot more comfortable to wear for the whole night, especially for those who prefer to sleep on your side. It's also okay to play out loud on your speaker or on your phone on low volume, but if you are sharing your bed space with someone else, you want to make sure that it's not disrupting their sleep. So you want to make sure that you're communicating with them to make sure that's okay. Also, there is a variety of white noise machines that you can purchase, and you can see a picture of that on the slide. Also, Catherine mentioned earlier that about having a wind down routine. So instead of listening to music as you sleep, listening to some music about 30 minutes to an hour before sleep can help you fall asleep faster and sleep better. So you may be wondering at this point, is it better to sleep in complete silence or with some soothing background noise? So it really depends on the person. You might need to try different things to figure out what works best for you and what makes you comfortable and ready for sleep. And with that, I'll pass it on to Alyssa to share additional tips for improving sleep quality.
All right, thank you, Rachel. So we've gone through some environmental factors that we can adjust. We've talked about light, we've talked about temperature, we've talked about sound. We also wanted to provide a couple of additional tips that can be kind of incorporated into your day or just to be mindful of throughout your day to promote good sleep quality. So the first tip that we have is to set a schedule. So regardless of whether it's a weekend or a weekday, try to wake up at the same time. A fluctuating schedule really keeps your body from getting into a rhythm and getting consistent sleep. When developing that kind of sleep schedule and that that usualness with when you're going to sleep and when you're waking up. It's also really important to make sure that you're following the same steps each night. So if you like to put your pajamas on first and then brush your teeth, making sure that you're doing that same order each night can reinforce your mind that it's bedtime. As Catherine and Rachel mentioned, it's also recommended to budget about 30 minutes before you go to sleep to do something to help you wind down. So, adding something into that routine that puts you into a state of calm, listening to soft music, taking a warm bath, doing some reading, maybe some relaxation exercises or some light stretching, just anything that you prefer. Additionally, within this schedule, it's also important to be aware of the liquids that we're consuming at night. So if you find yourself waking up oftentimes in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, it might be helpful to consider your evening liquid intake and create kind of a schedule to limit your liquid consumption before bed. Our next tip is to exercise regularly, but not within 3 hours of sleep. So proper exercise can alleviate some of the sleep-related problems that we experience and can help you get an adequate amount of rest. Because sleep and exercise have this kind of bi-directional relationship, optimizing your exercise routine and exercising regularly can potentially help you sleep better, and getting good quality sleep can help promote healthier physical activity levels throughout your day. Researchers noted, though, that when you are exercising, it does increase your internal core temperature. And as Elizabeth had mentioned earlier, when we're going to sleep, our body is trying to lower that internal core temperature. So if we're exercising, within an hour of going to sleep or within that 3 hours of going to sleep, it can be associated with lower sleep efficiency and more time awake before sleep onset, because your body is still trying to kind of cool itself down. Our next tip is to avoid caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, and dining late. So nicotine and caffeine are both stimulants, and it is going to help, it's going to promote your brain or your body staying awake. So it's going to make it more difficult to fall asleep when you are wanting to go to sleep. Alcohol, while it might make it easier to fall asleep, it ends up kind of wearing off, and it ends up disrupting your sleep later in the evening. And dining late, so when you're eating dinner late, especially if it's a big, heavy, or spicy meal, it means that your body is still trying to digest that food when it's time for bed and when you're trying to go to sleep. So in general, try to keep your food or snacks before bed kind of on the lighter side. Our next tip is to not lie in bed awake. So to build kind of a link between your brain and your sleep environment and promoting that place as a place of rest, you really want to be in bed for sleep and sex only. Additionally, if you are struggling, sometimes we get into bed and we have these racing thoughts, or we are sleeping and we wake up and we have these racing thoughts. If you find yourself doing that and you're in bed and this is happening for an hour or so, try getting up and doing something out of bed that's still restful and restorative, like yoga, to kind of recenter and refocus your thoughts. This can kind of disrupt those racing thoughts that you're experiencing and break up those cues, and then go back to bed to still continue to promote your bed as a place of rest rather than a place where you're experiencing these thoughts and anxiety. Our next tip is with napping. So it's suggested to nap less than 30 to 45 minutes to prevent you from feeling groggy, and before 2 or 3 o'clock. So it minimizes the negative effect it has on your nighttime sleep, and making sure that you're going through those 4 stages of sleep that Catherine mentioned at the beginning. And our final tip is to get daylight exposure. So as Catherine was mentioning with that circadian rhythm that our bodies have, light, especially sunlight, is really important in kind of telling our body when to sleep and when to be awake. So getting light and getting daylight exposure can really encourage quality sleep.
Oh, Alyssa, there's
All
a
right.
question in the chat for
Yes.
you.
Okay. Sorry, let me just pull up the chat really quick.
Or Elizabeth, if you can read
Yeah.
it. I know it's hard to see when
Yeah,
you're
I'll
sharing
read it.
screen.
So the question is, what if you are tired, but you just can't go back to sleep?
So sometimes we have different types of like feelings of being tired, and we can be physically tired, or we can be, mentally tired, or we can be kind of emotionally tired. And when sometimes your body feels physically tired, but our brain is, having those racing thoughts. And sometimes just being able to get up and get out of your bed and still do something that's relaxing, like listen to some of that restful music from your wind down routine, or, doing some light reading. So you're not actually physically exerting as much energy, but it kind of tries to refocus your brain, and then you can go back to sleep after that. Okay, sorry, I'm just reading through these. We have a few other questions. What is wrong with getting too much sleep? So I know I really like sleeping as well. Dr. Hall, you might be able to help answer this question a little bit better, but when your body needs a certain amount of sleep, and when you're getting too much or too little sleep, and it's associated with different chronic conditions. So trying to find that optimal amount of sleep can help your body and promote so that you're still able to do everything that you want to do throughout the day without, being associated with these other conditions.
And just to piggyback off of what Alyssa said, the general guideline of like 7 to 9 hours, it is just that, it's a general guideline, right? Some people might need a little bit more, some people might be okay with a little bit less. So everyone is a little bit different. It would just be a concern if you are sleeping kind of like definitely in excess of that consistently, right? You might be experiencing, like Alyssa was saying, another type of chronic condition. Perhaps you have hypersomnia or something else that should be followed up with by your physician. But I think when in doubt, if you're ever concerned, check with your doctor. They know you best. And then I see a question in the chat about saying the ABCs in your head because your mind knows them well. And does that, or could that help you fall asleep?
So with that, I think from my understanding, it's trying to focus your thoughts on one thing and kind of helping your body go into that relaxation, and kind of continuing that idea of doing some sort of relaxation exercise. So when you're doing that, you're refocusing those thoughts into one area rather than having those racing thoughts.
And if I can just add on to that, I would agree. Yes, it definitely can. It's very similar to like, I think a lot of us have heard about like counting sheep, right? So like counting, it's just, focusing your brain on something that is not too complex, is very simple, but just getting it distracted and trying to minimize those racing thoughts. So, whether that is counting sheep, saying ABCs, I know I've had clients in the past who are Catholic and they say the rosary, right? They have certain prayers that are just very rote and easy for them to remember. So lots of different strategies to help distract with the racing thoughts. I know that's one of the hardest things for people to turn off their brains when they're trying to go back to sleep, especially if you're tired, but your brain just won't turn off. That's the hardest.
I have a question. Can I ask?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, since you're talking to a geriatric group, you didn't, my main sleep problem is I have to get up and pee at night, probably 2 times. And it's difficult to fall asleep after this disruption. And as far as limiting fluids is concerned, that's actually doubtful advice because it leads to constipation, which is also a problem for geriatrics. Can you comment something on how to fall asleep again after you've had to go to the bathroom? I do try reading, and that sometimes helps, but that takes an hour or something to calm me down.
Yeah, sometimes that's one of the toughest things is you get up and you have to go to the bathroom, and then you come back to that your bed and you are all of a sudden wide awake. I think trying to find some other kind of restorative activities that are helpful for you, doing some listening to that music, or finding something else that helps you kind of refocus your brain and your body on trying to go back to sleep. Reading is a great one, but sometimes we do need a couple of different tools to use and to be able to access when we need them.
Okay, but I think this is very common for geriatric people, and it's important for this audience.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
thing with Nocturia too, if I can jump in, is that everyone is going to be different. There are so many things that can contribute to Nocturia, such as medications, right? Different diagnoses. So it really needs a full comprehensive approach. For Nocturia, ceasing fluids a little bit before bedtime, but maintaining adequate fluids during the daytime can be a helpful strategy. But anything beyond that, we would have to refer to someone's physician. Also, especially with even different fluid levels, right? Some people are only allotted certain amounts of fluids during the day too. So fluid restriction is something that unfortunately does not fall within our purview to make recommendations. We really do have to refer people back to their physicians for those types of things. I'm seeing a few other questions in the chat. I just want to check in with the group. Do we want to jump into breakout rooms? Maybe we have an opportunity to get into these questions a little bit more, and then we can come back and regroup. So Rachel, if you'd like to open that up.
Dr. Hall,
Yeah.
are you able to put me into breakout room 4?
Yeah.
I missed my chance to go to that.
Okay, you should be able to go now. Let's see, I'm going to assign a couple other people. All right. Okay, looks like we're all back. Alyssa, if you want to go ahead and pull up the slide deck again.
All righty, it looks like everyone is back. So we wanted to, I guess, provide, a moment or two if there was anything that anybody wanted to share from our group discussions. All righty, well, if there isn't, we can go ahead and move on to kind of our closing reminders. I'm going to share my screen again.
All right. Okay, so I hopefully you guys had a nice conversation in your breakout rooms. So we just want to remind you that our field work is going to end in 2 weeks. So we are kind of wrapping things up, but it's not too late to sign up for our one-on-one consultations. So if you have any questions and concerns related to sleep or other things in your life, feel free to sign up for our one-on-one consultations. And Elizabeth just dropped the link in the chat, so you can use the link to sign up. And also I want to remind you that so we only have one last presentation left. It's going to be on April 2nd, and it's going to be on cognition. So we're really excited for that, and we hope to see you all there. Yeah, and then so I think that basically concludes our presentation. Once again, thank you for coming to our presentation and participating. It was really great to see all of you. And, the remaining time is really just for us to, for you to ask us any questions that you have.
So I thought this was really great. I really appreciated it. And I've been really working on this myself for my own personal, because I'm trying to, set stuff up so that I get a better night's sleep. And it's really important to get enough hours just for your brain. And I'm talking to the students all the way through to those of us who are over 60. You want to keep your brain healthy, you get enough sleep. That's really, really important. You want to be ready for your exams, you sleep. You don't pull all-nighters and that kind of stuff. But if the students or Professor Hall have any more resources that you've come across, please let us know and we will post it on your specific website for the sleep part. And we will keep that active for you so people can find it.
Great. Well, thanks, everyone. We can hang back if people do have questions. Otherwise, happy Friday and take care.